Christmas or a birthday, and he'd given me mine the first Christmas we were together. So, you know, the whole thing was really our dream wedding, and we were really going, really doing this on a shoestring, budget wise. And we had this huge dream wedding that we everybody else made happen. And so I'd really like to write it from that angle because I think that's amazing what people will do for people they don't even know. And
Yeah, in the name of love.
We hear about how come from away and how Newfoundlanders really helped, and so they did like a huge effort. But we don't have a monopoly on helping people and doing
No,
special
that's
things for
true.
people.
Yeah.
And this was New Yorkers, and so it's completely the opposite, right? And these weren't, these were people who had bigger things going on in their lives that they could have said, oh, but no, we were just this regular couple going to New York to watch a hockey game, and they just, you know, did everything they could, and we had a dream day, and I don't know, that's where the romance is, right there, you know. So I gotta write that
Yes, you
someday.
do, and I want
I
to
really
read it
do.
then.
Yeah. So
It's really
anyway,
sweet. I keep telling my parents they need to write their love story too, because there are like some sort of biography about them, because they both have led such ridiculous lives, but like incredible, and it's amazing that they have found each other, and like from different parts of the country. My dad grew up in Africa and Brazil, and they still met at the same college, and have traveled all over the world together, and lived all over the world. But here they are. It's really, I love love. So nice.
It's they live a big life as far as I'm concerned. Like they live a grander life than, like, it's so easy to settle for ordinary, and there's nothing wrong with ordinary, and as long as you're having a good life and as long as you're happy. But they have a special kind of life going on there where with the family incorporated into the business, and um it's I think it would make for a really interesting reading. And I, even do it, write it down. I always tell everybody, you don't have to be a writer to write it down, and the rest can come after, right? You can make it into something that's uh, attractive to everybody else. But that's a great story. The whole thing, like your dad's upbringing, and then like their meeting, and then their life afterwards, and all you kids, like 10 of you, and homeschooling, and military life, and then turning it into this, now you have a record company and the venue, and it's just crazy. It's like, think about that. It's not usual, and it's a big life. I think it's great. I think that would be a good story. They should do that. I encourage everybody to write everything
I say it as a joke that they've lived like 5 lives at least.
At least,
because there's been different sections of their lives that have been very wildly different.
Yes, like your dad was military, and now he's artsy fartsy. To some degree, but I mean, he's an industry arts, professional, and has a record company. It's still business, which is still different from the military, and and then traveling, where all the places you've lived, and all of you have been born in different places, and only the younger ones were born here. So,
I think
some born on the highway, some like it really. There's some really interesting little stories in the big story, isn't there?
Yeah, always fly by the seat of your pants kind of people. So
yes, well, that's a good way to be, because life can throw all kinds of stuff at you, and I know that's throwing some rough stuff at your parents, but you've got to be able to, you've got to have that ability to bounce back and be flexible and move ahead and change. I find the people that are most successful in life are the ones who not only are able to deal with change, but sometimes they'll actually go out and create it. Like, it's so easy to stay where you are, so easy, but to go out and create a change and say, you know what, I'm so sick of this, and I'm just quit your job and do something new, or just, you know what I mean? Like, embrace something different and give it a shot and risk the failure. And the people that do that usually are the ones that have the most interesting lives. And, you know, I think having an interesting life is as important as anything. So, anyway, that's
well, you only get one, so you might as well live it to the fullest.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, really, like I'm not good, and what did I said in one of my columns? I said, ruts are nice and comfortable and the wind can't get at you, but who wants to live in a rut? So you got to crawl out, and the highway might be scary, but jump aboard something and go for a ride, because um, you know it's easy to get into that. So I like trying new things. I'm pretty, for somebody who barely ever leaves the house. I'm a recluse. But that's just because I'm a writer, and you can't do that while driving. So
yeah.
But anyway,
well,
so there you go, and we have. Well, we're running. I think we should run into our interview now, and we have Debbie Robbins. Debbie is a Newfoundland romance author, and she writes Scottish historical romance. So that's her specialty. It is hugely, hugely popular. There is a very large audience for that specific kind of romance. She writes under a publisher called Tagar Publishing, which is an international, I'm not sure which country, but I would say Scotland. And she has, well, that's for the series, the Highlanders series, but she has written 10 or 11 books. They are hugely popular. Our audience is international. Online, she has a vast following. She's best-selling status, USA Today bestseller, and award-winning Amazon bestseller. So she's got lots of credentials, and I might have her mixed up with the USA Today, but anyway, she has best-selling status somewhere. So anyway, it is Debbie Robbins, who writes under the name Kate Robbins, and here she is. There's my conversation with her from earlier this week. And Bonnie, you have a good day.
You too.
See you soon out there, bye. Bye-bye. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I forgot to ask you, do I call you Kate or Debbie?
You call me Debbie. The pen name is Kate, Debbie. And I blame things on Kate if I get in trouble. But yeah, no, it's Debbie.
Okay. So for the listening audience, Debbie is the real name, and the reason I asked her that which name to use is because that Kate is her pen name, and a lot of writers use a pen name. So actually, I'll ask you that question first. Why do you use a pen name?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. I hope everyone is, having a good evening out there. As far as a pen name goes, I had grappled with that a fair bit when I was considering seriously considering publication. And I looked at my name, and if you think about it, there's an awful lot of B's in Debbie Robbins. So then I thought about it, well, maybe I could make that a little sexier, and I write Scottish historical romance. So Robbins, of course, is a Scottish name, and I like my last name, so I kept it. And then I went looking for something that would just really flow well with Robbins. I wanted something with a single syllable and maybe hard consonants, and I just came up with Kate, and it really stuck. And yeah, I mean, if I'm at a conference and somebody calls out Kate, I'll answer. Right. But I mean, pretty much everyone who encounters me, whether it's a reader or another author or a publisher, they know that I'm Debbie. So yeah, there's really, I mean, I guess it there is a little bit of a marketing piece to it. Kate Robbins flows better than Debbie Robbins. If you say that, Debbie Robbins doesn't have good mouthfeel, whereas Kate Robbins does. And so there's a little bit of aesthetics to it. And it wasn't overly complicated. It's just I didn't like the sound of, because what you want as an author is you want people to say, "Oh my God, did you just read the latest Kate Robbins book?" Right? That's exactly what you want readers to say. And so yeah, there it is. Does that make sense?
People ask that all the time. Actually, I'm in a lot of writers groups online, and new writers come in, or people who are thinking of writing, and that's one of the questions they ask a lot. And it's funny because they'll ask it in the like, they'll say, "Do I have to have a pen name?" No.
Yeah, and the answer
not.
is no. You can do what you want. You're the master of your domain.
Right. And then another one that I see too is, if you have a pen name, how does that work with contracts? And so it's an interesting thing, because your pen name, I have a pen name if you think about it, because I write under Carolyn Parsons, which is my maiden name, but my legal name is Chaffee.
Right.
So your pen name basically is the name you write under. Right?
Yes, but the contract is with the contract is with the legal the title, the legal title of the person. So my contracts are between my publisher and Debbie Robbins, who writes, and there's a line, writing under the pen name Kate Robbins.
That's exactly right. And even in my contract, now I can use Parsons legally as well because it is a maiden name, so there's some, leeway there. But, right out of the gate, that line is in I just signed a publishing contract, and that line is right in there. It's, what the name is going to be on the cover of the book is not the one necessarily that you sign under.
And that's important as far as contracts go. What a contract does is it defines the specifics that you've agreed upon. If it's not in the contract, it's not been put on the table. And as far as author rights go, they revert back to the author unless there's something in a contract that says such and such and such and such belongs to the publisher, and the publisher will pay you this amount in royalty, et cetera, then the rights remain with the author every time, in Canada at least. So contracts can be people get a little bit confused with regards to contracts, and then they try to insist on things being put in there. But I don't agree with that. I think if it's not in the contract, you're not bound by it.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. You're only, less is more sometimes. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Don't insist on something being put in there if it's going to take away any of your rights, and certainly not your intellectual property, because that's always going to remain with you.
Right.
Anyway, I don't know if we're getting sidetracked here or not, but
we are, but that's okay, because this is, like I said, this is a very much a conversational thing, and also the show is also about the business of arts as well as the arts themselves and the artists. So I like to touch on those things a little bit. Now we'll get back to you though. So when did you start writing? Well, first of all, where are you from?
I'm from Hatchet Cove, Trinity Bay.
Hatchet Cove. And what got you into writing? Have you been writing all your life? Are you one of those who's written forever, or are you late to the game?
I think the first thing I ever wrote was by accident. I have always been interested in theater, and I did the NIFCO first-time filmmaking course here in St. John's back in 1999. And during the course of that year, John Doyle was offering a weekend screenwriting course. And one of the guys who was in the class said, "Come on, Deb, do that with me this weekend." And I'm like, "Oh, I can't write. I was terrible at literature and language in high school. I mean, I did it in university, but it was like, meh, it's not my thing, right? I'm not that kind of a storyteller. I'm more into stage and film." So I went to the course. He bugged me, and I went to the 2-day course. At the end of the first day, and it's all on John Doyle. It's all on John Doyle. At the end of the first day, I went home and I wrote an 8-minute short film screenplay, and I went on to acquire a first-time filmmaker grant. I wrote it, I directed it, I produced it, I edited it, and it was screened in the 2003 Nickel Film Festival. So then I thought, oh, maybe I do have stories to tell in a different medium. After that, I had been, my son was going to the St. James United Church, the Sunday school here in town, And it was coming up on Christmas, and I had asked them, okay, so who does, like we do out around the Bay, we